Shalom, everybody. I'm Jonah Freeman. Welcome to Emmaus Dialogues. Today we're looking at a prophecy in 2 Samuel chapter 7. This prophecy is involving the building of the temple. David has felt that since he lives in a house of cedar and the Ark of the Covenant is only still in tents, that he needs to build a temple, a building for the dwelling place of the Ark of the Covenant and the Shekinah, the glory of Elohim. So Nathan the prophet comes to David and brings words from the Holy One to him. So pick it up here in verse 5. This is 2 Samuel 7. Verse 5, Go and tell my servant David, Thus saith Yahweh, Shall you build me a house for me to dwell in, whereas I have not dwelt in any house since the time that I brought up the children of Israel out of Egypt, even to this day, but have walked in a tent and in a tabernacle? In all the places wherein I have walked with all the children of Israel, spoke I a word with any of the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to feed my people Israel, saying, Why build ye not me a house of cedar? Now, therefore, so shall you say unto my servant David, Thus saith Yahweh Tsebaot, I took you from the sheepcote, from following the sheep, to be ruler over my people, over Israel, and I was with you whithersoever you went, and have cut off all your enemies out of your sight, and have made you a great name, like unto the name of the great men that are in the earth. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and will plant them, that they may dwell in a place of their own, and move no more, neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them any more as aforetime. And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, and have caused you to rest from all your enemies, also Yahweh tells you that he will make you a house. And when your days be fulfilled, and you shall sleep with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, which will proceed out of your bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men, and with the stripes of the children of men. Now this is an interesting prophecy. There's more that's said here, but I want to look at these verses, verse 12, 13, 14. And he's saying to David through the prophet Nathan, When your days be fulfilled, and you shall sleep with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you. Now, there's a problem right there. If this is talking about Solomon, David's son, well, Solomon is going to be set up as king before David dies. So this prophecy is saying, when your days be fulfilled and you shall sleep with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, which shall proceed out of your bowels. Well, the Old English word bowels just means out of his body. And I will establish his kingdom. Okay, so are we talking about Solomon? He continues, verse 13. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Forever? Solomon's kingdom and his throne are not in existence. They ceased. His kingdom has not been forever. This is a prophecy of the Messiah. And look at verse 14. He says, I will be his father, and he shall be my son. Well, David is the father of Solomon. So why would Elohim be telling David, I'm going to be his father and he's going to be my son? And what is this statement, if he commit iniquity? Everybody has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Not one person is exempt. So what is this if here? And then he says, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. Well, this brings us to examine the Hebrew. So we're going to start with looking at verse 12. This, let me change my camera here. Here we have 10 plus 2. This is the way numbers are written in Hebrew. So this, in the orange letters, is just the number of the verse. So this is 2 Samuel chapter 7 and starting at verse 12. Key, this word key is because. It could be possibly thus or for, but I like going to the basic because. They are fulfilled your days and you lie, and it's you will, and you will lie. Aleph Tav. Now this Aleph Tav, we've been looking at these Aleph Tavs, and remember, the Aleph Tav, depending on context, can be a number of things. Now here they have written it as with, and I think that could be one of the Aleph Tav definitions for one of the Aleph Tav words is with. This with, though, is in proximity to, not in league with. That's another Hebrew word. So, and you will lie with avotecha, your fathers. So ki yimlau yamecha v'shachavta et avotecha. So this is because they are fulfilled, your days, and you will lie possibly with your fathers, and this is in a Hifil binyan that I've marked it as a red hay to mark the Hifil binyan, which is causative. And I will cause to raise up. Aleph Tav. Okay, here this could be our first and last. This is not going to be with. Your seed. So vahakimoti, if you're working on your pronunciation. Et zarecha, and this is your seed. Akarecha, and this is after you. So he's saying, because they are fulfilled your days, and you will lie with your fathers, and I will cause to raise up the first and the last, your seed after you, who, and that who would be your seed, Yetzeh, he will go out. Mime'echa, this is from your loins, And there you have your et nocta, that little symbol right there, which creates the completed thought of the sentence. So when we look at what we've got so far, because they are fulfilled your days, and you lie, and you will lie with your fathers, and I will cause to raise up the Messiah, who's the first and the last, your seed after you, who he will go out from your loins. Remember that the first and the last is mentioned in Galatians. So right here, this is Galatians chapter 3 and verse 16. And now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not unto seeds as of many, but as of one, and to your seed, which is the Messiah. This is very interesting. Paul is pointing out that the scriptures and the promises here to Abraham, when it's speaking of seed singular to Abraham, it's not talking about his children and his offspring, which some Bibles have taken this word seed and translated it as offspring. That's not what this is. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not to seeds as of many, but as of one, to your seed, which is the Messiah. That seed came through Abraham, and David came through Abraham. And it is going to be David's seed as well. So appropriate that I'm going to cause to raise up. I will cause to raise up the Aleph Tav, the first and last, your seed, singular, after you, who he will go out from your loins. This is appearing like a prophecy very clearly of the Messiah. So after the et nocta, what comes after the et nocta would expand or expound or explain what came before. And I will cause to establish Aleph Tav, there's our first and last, from his kingdom. So, vaha kinoti et mamlachto. So Melech is king. Malkuto would be his kingdom, and we have our prefix from here, from his kingdom. So, and I will cause to establish Aleph Tav, the Mashiach, from his kingdom. Wow, that's quite an incredible statement just in verse 12. The translators left on the cutting room floor 3 Aleph Tavs. Well, they did put this one in as the word with. So this one they translated, but they left these two out. All right, so continuing to verse 13. So this is 10 plus 3. So there's verse 13. He, pronounced who in Hebrew. Who is he? And he will build Yivnei Bayit, the house, Lishmi, to my name, or can be to or for my name. V'chonanti, and I will establish. This is a slightly different form of this same word. And I will establish Aleph Tav. There is our first and last. Kisei, the throne. Mamlakto, so from his kingdom. Ad olam, so ad is unto or until, and this is ever. Olam is ever. So verse 13 says, He will build the house for my name, and I will establish Aleph Tav, the Mashiach, the throne of his kingdom unto ever. So fitting. That is verse 12 and 13. Now then, we want to look at verse 14. Here is our verse 14, 10 plus 4. Remember what verse 14 said in our good old King James. And it says, I will be his father, he will be my son. If he commit iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. What does it actually say in the Hebrew? Ani is I. Eye, I will be. Lo, to him. La'av, la'av is for a father. Vahu, and he. Yeh, yeh is he will be. He will be li, to me. And again, these are 2 or 4. You just plug in whichever one seems to make the most sense. That green lamed there is 2 or 4. And the blue yod on the end with the hurik, the single dot, is possessive me, my, I, myself. So to me, Leven, for a son. And there is our etnakta symbol and our semicolon, the completed thought. So what do we have so far? I will be to him for a father. He will be to me for a son. So far, so good. Who, asher, who can be which. Who or which, I like to work with the pronoun if it can possibly fit. Who. Now this word right here, our English translation puts it as if he will sin. But there is no if in the text. We don't have an if. This bet is in as a prefix. If we were going to put an interrogative hey here, it might be able to say if. An interrogative hey, there's our hey. An interrogative hey is going to have a shiva and a pata under it. And it would be the first letter in the list. But that is not here. We don't have an interrogative hey. The translators put an if in the text. They're trying to interpret what they thought could be. This is in the infinitive construct, and again, I'm using the Old Testament parsing guide. That's looking backwards, so let's put it underneath the screen. Old Testament parsing guide, Todd S. Beale, William Banks, Colin Smith. Fabulous book, very necessary. You'll want it in your repertoire. Okay, we just open it up like a regular Bible from Genesis all the way to Malachi, and it has all of the verses that have verbs, which most verses do, almost all. So we go to 2 Samuel. We're in chapter 7, and we're looking at verse 14 specifically. Now, this is our word. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so this can be seen clearly. So here is our 2 Samuel. We're in 2 Samuel. We're in chapter 7. We're in verse 14. These are all of the verbs that are in that verse. It gives you the three-letter roots that are here. This word we're looking at right now is in a hiphil, which is a causative binyan. It is an infinitive construct, and it has a suffix of a third male singular, he. And this is not really a definition. They have given us a cursory kind of an idea. Don't trust this here for your definitions. It's just kind of to give you a nudge to remember what the basic idea is. And you would need to go to your dictionary, your Strong's Dictionary, number 1, and then you would have to add all of this information here in order to give it its real meaning over here. So the hiphil is causative. Infinitive construct is to do something. And then it's going to be done to him. So in our English, it's the same as in the Hebrew. These are infinitive construct forms commonly used in English: to be, to do, to see, to feel, to eat, to go, to wear, to sleep. These are examples, and here is an example of the Hebrew infinitive construct and the infinitive translation. Again, it's to remember, to abandon, to say, just, it's to do it, whatever that verb happens to be. That's your infinitive construct. When we are looking at this verb right here, we don't have an if. We're missing our interrogative hey. It's not in the text. There is a prefix, which is a bet, which means in. It's in the hiphil binyan, which is causative. So it's in causing him, because it's third male singular, to be sin. So it's saying who, in causing him to be sin, and causing him, and it's actually in this case, I will cause, I shouldn't put this as causing, cause him chastisement. The text here so far is saying, I will be to him for a father. He will be to me for a son, who in causing him to be sin, and I will cause to chasten, or I will cause him chastisement in the rod, the bashevet of anashim, of men, or mankind, you might say, uv, and in nige, the stripes, or the strokes, and in strokes of the sons of, this is the B'nai Adam, in the sons of Adam. Oh, what he's saying here is, I'm going to be his father. I'm going to be, I will be. This is not I am, I will be. This is incompleted action at this point when we're here in this prophecy that Nathan is relating to David in 2 Samuel 7:14. At that time he's saying, I will be to him for a father. And he will be. This is incompleted action. He will be to me for a son. When did this take place? It took place when Elohim stepped down from his throne and took upon himself humanity and was born as a baby. That's when he became the son and Elohim became the father. And this is a prophecy of what would take place when he would be a father to him and he would be his son. It says, in causing him to be sin, to be. It's in that infinitive construct. In causing him to be sin, and I will cause him chastisement in the rod of men and in the strokes of the sons of Adam. We all deserve what he took upon himself. Now, we have some amazing verses to support this. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 21. For he hath made, this is speaking of the Father, he hath made him, speaking of the Son, to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of God in him. This is as if it is quoting right from our 2 Samuel 7:14 verse. He hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin. He took upon himself our guilt, and he gave us his throne. He exchanged places with us. He said, you cannot pay for your sins. I will. I can pay for your sins. In him. What an exchange. That's incredible. And you know, we can just go right back to the prophet Isaiah and there read pretty much the same thing. Isaiah chapter 53. Pick it up at verse 6. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. That's what we just read in 2 Corinthians, and that was chapter 5, verse 21. All of our iniquity was laid on him. He was oppressed, he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. It wasn't for his own, it was for ours. And he made his grave with the wicked, and with the rich in his death, because he hath done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased Yahweh to bruise him, he hath put him to grief. And when you shall make his soul an offering for sin. He will see his seed, he will prolong his days, and the pleasure of Yahweh will prosper in his hand. He will see of the travail of his soul and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he will bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. He shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. He was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. What an incredible position. It is just amazing to ponder and to look at these verses in a deeper way. So, in the meantime, keep looking up because your redemption draws near, and shalom.